Hi, I'm Jared from Studio Ardia, here with a long-awaited gameplay video for Escape from Atalix, our upcoming sci-fi adventure game. Alright, let's get started. So here I have the board set up for 2 players. I've got this angle, top-down angle, so hopefully you can see the cards and see what's going on. I won't go over the full setup, but you should be able to find that on the website on our blog. Setup is relatively easy once you know what you're doing. Over here we've got our resources, scrap, carbon, minerals, and then the team's resources, which in the final version there will be individual resource pool cards so that you can keep track more easily so the piles don't get messed up. And over here we've got all our cards. These are the ones for sale. These are encounter cards and project cards. That's probably the trickiest part of setup, but most of the different card types have different backs, so you can see what's going on, but anything cycling through your deck obviously is going to have the same back, so you'll need to pay attention to make sure that you get everything separated properly. So just take a quick look at the board. We've got 2 players in the middle. This is our round tracker down here. This is sort of your timer for the game. The different stars are different difficulties, and we are on difficulty number 2. All these cubes out here are available resources. These 2 green things represent the acid storm that will be moving in as the game progresses, and over here is the alien that you can see on the box, and he will be attempting to remove us from the planet. And that's the basics. The left over here is our research track, which I will talk about later, and this is the card cost meter. The cost of these upgrade cards will escalate throughout the game depending on how many you choose to buy. So here we have the game set up for the second scenario. So in this scenario, you're trying to build a rover, which was in the cargo of your ship but broke apart in the crash. And so you're trying to find parts using this scanner array. And I'll explain that down the line as we go. So let me just go ahead. We've got 2 starting decks here. Let me just go ahead and shuffle these up while I explain a few things. So the game play, after you're set up, you start immediately into turns, and the gameplay is divided into 2 phases. So essentially there's a planning phase and an action phase. So during the planning phase, all players will draw 4 cards from their deck, and they will be able to simultaneously play the cards that they want to use that turn. And that just adds a little bit of a real-time element, and also limited communication element. So after you've shuffled your 4 cards, or after you shuffled your deck here, the last step for your personal setup is to choose an active card. So the active card is a card that you'll be able to resolve the abilities of each round. So for beginners, it's recommended that you choose the oxygen card that will be in every starting deck, and we'll just put that there. We're a little tight on space, but we'll put that there so we can be sure to resolve it each turn. We'll do the same thing for this player. It will just be me playing, but I will play both sides. So this oxygen card allows us to draw 1 card. It gives us extra plays, which is how many cards we can play on a turn. And then there's some abilities. Anytime you see this ability with a Roman numeral beside it, this represents our progress on the research track, and you have to get to that level of research in order to resolve that ability. So, like I said, typically, if you're playing with multiple players, you will plan your turn simultaneously, and what that looks like is you draw 4 cards, Every player has one play by default, but the auction card affords you an additional play. So every player will plan their turn. So let's say this turn I want to do an action and I want to gain resources. All the remainder cards get discarded. And this player is looking at a similar hand. So they want to buy a card. A little early for that, but they want to gain resources, and then they will discard. So it's a bit confusing here because we're limited on space. Normally you have these more spread out like this. So maybe I'll just go ahead and do that now that you've seen everything. I keep these up here so that I don't discard them or reshuffle them when my turn's over. So if you look at each card, there's two types of card abilities, and I'll try to find one that has both, but I'm not sure any of the starting cards do. But basically, well, this one kind of is. So basically there's abilities that apply to the planning phase, like +1 play, or draw a card, or put a card back from your discard pile, or something like that. And there's cards that apply during the action phase, or abilities that apply during the action phase. On the final version, these are the planning phase abilities are bolded and the action phase abilities are italicized. So it's a little bit easier to tell them apart, but you'll get the hang of it anyway, either way. So a few things to keep in mind while you're planning your turns. The round ends when you're out of your cards. And so cards kind of represent energy of your spacesuit and of your equipment. So the more cards you're able to get, the more you can do in a round. And the slower this will tick down, so to speak. And that's really the gist of it. So let's go ahead and resolve each turn, and I'll talk about a few more things as we go. So this guy will be blue. So an action allows you to move 2 spaces, harvest cubes, climb, and there's a 4th action on some of the action cards as well. So climb, if you look at the board here, I hope it's not too small to see, but each space has either none or a certain number of these white bars at the bottom, and that represents the elevation. So anytime you want to move from a lower space to a higher space, you must take the climb action, or there's other cards, abilities you can resolve. And that climb action allows you to move only 1 space, but it allows you to increase elevation by 1. So you really have to plan out how you're going to get to certain locations on the board. And then this one's really simple. It allows us to gain a resource and plus a play. So speaking of having plus a play, I'm talking so much that I get mixed up on what I'm doing, but I technically can play a 3rd card here. So I'm going to go ahead and climb to this space here, and I can't collect this yet because that isn't action. This card, I can only do the 1st ability because of our research level, so I will gain a scrap or an orange resource, and then I'll pay any resource to raise research by 1. And so there's lots to consider when you're choosing which resources to do. I'm not the type that likes to give away strategy, but in this scenario, the first card we're looking to build is this scanner array, so we do need a lot of the orange or scrap. You also can look at the cards available for sale, your current resource levels. So I'm actually going to take a mineral because we need the least of it to raise the research. And now player 2 will go. They do not have any action, so they won't move around the board much. But they too actually can play an additional card. This one, again, it's hard to see that, which is why on the updated version they will be bolded and they will be separated. So you can do these in any order you want. I like to play them in the order that I'm gonna use them, but you can't always do that because you might be drawing new cards or changing out your hand as you play cards. So spend resources to purchase an equipment card is what this says. So this is sort of your main way to get new cards. And so I'm going to explain how the card costs work. So you see this meter on the left, on the right side of the board. This left side represents this is in the wrong place, the current card cost, and then this represents, you put this on the number of players, and this increments every time you buy a card. So let's say I wanted to get this weapons card. I need to pay 0 at this point, 0 resources per resource type listed. If this was at 1, I need to pay 1 resource per resource listed. But if you look over on this card, this has a +1 here, so I'd need to play the current number +1. So I'd need to pay 1 scrap to get this plays card. So this is essentially free right now, and I think that's what I'm going to pick. And so then we get to recollect, I hope you can see these. I get to recollect a mineral resource, and then I get to take an action on the board. And, I'm going to start collecting the orange resources, the scrap. And then that's pretty much it. Every player does that. It goes pretty quick when you're not explaining everything you do. And then the round continues. So I'll draw up to 4 cards. I don't have 4 cards right now, and then we'll choose 2 to play. So at this point, I kind of wish I had some of those other cards because I may not be able to move and collect a resource again. I'm going to collect resources and I'm going to move. We'll just say that I'll do that. And this person in a similar boat. So as with any deck builder game, the start can be a bit, it's a bit slow, and as you build your deck, it gets faster. It gets better and better. So blue picks up a resource cube. Move again. The round will be over at this point, but just for the sake of demonstration, I will move there. This person pick up a resource as well. We're doing pretty good over here. And again, we'll move. We'll climb to here, just so we can, keep showing you what's going on. So now that the round is over, very fast for the first round. So that's a couple things, maybe, that's a couple things to consider. Probably would have been a good idea for blue to resolve his upgrade card there, even though, it would make him get even less done on the board. So now we go to the between roll rounds events. So we roll and resolve the event. First, these are in a little bit wrong order. We return these guys to the middle here, and then we roll and resolve the event dice. So the first player, which in this case is blue, will roll it. And I got a 3, and it may be a little bit hard to read, but there's 6 events here, numbered 1 through 6. So you start at the highest, that is equal. You start at the one equal to the dice roll. So in this case, the storm is in the D6 direction. So I like to put a little marker here. So this is the storm, like I said. So I re-roll the dice at this point. 5. So you look at this compass here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 5 would be down and to the left. So each of these will shift. I like to keep them in this top right corner so they don't block the numbers. So these storms, it's a good time to explain. You can take damage in the game, and these. So if, say, I were purple and I were to enter this space, I would take a damage for each storm token that is on that space. And the damage means I discard cards from my draw deck, or unused cards from the ones I've played. And if I run out of cards to discard, and I take more damage, then I have to go back to the center, and the round is over for me because my cards are gone. And then number 2, alien moves towards ship. This happens almost every round. So basically, it's a bit of a ticking time bomb. If it reaches the center, which is where your ship crashed, you can put this here to represent it, but technically that comes in later with something you build. Yeah, so it comes towards where your ship crashed, and if he moves onto that space, then you lose the game. And then we disperse resources according to a d6. So this can happen twice, but if it hasn't happened and we've already rolled, then we just keep the current roll. And as you can see, so we then scan the board for open numbered spaces that have 5, and we'll place resources on there according to the terrain type. So orange goes on orange, carbon comes from plants, so it goes on green, and then minerals come from the rocky areas. Unfortunately, we do not have any 5s on the board, and so we will not be able to get any additional resources. And then we advance the round tracker to the right, and then we have an opportunity to build projects. So right here, we got really close to building the scanner array. This is really the first thing you want to build. Another thing to consider building is this terraforming card. This will help you to manage the alien and the storms, and also help you to move around the board a little bit more freely. Like you can build these paths up to 2 elevation up, so then if I was here I could go there without needing a climb action. So because we have the resources for this, I'm going to go ahead and build it. So that's 1 scrap. Can you see that all the way over there? Yeah. That's 3 carbon, and then 2, which is most of our resources, unfortunately. But it does give us this. So as you can see, create tools to make life a little bit easier. Must be... Oh, we have to be research level 2 for that. So I guess we'll refrain from building projects this round. Do tiny details like that, it's kind of good. Gotta pay attention. But when you complete it, each player gets a terraform card, and so then they can have various actions. So you can clear a storm token, build a path, or lure the alien 1 space towards you. So that helps you keep the alien manage where it goes a little bit. And then you start over. Everyone shuffles their deck up again. I'm just going to do a quick little pile shuffle here. Put it down. Same thing over here. That's not really shuffles. That's not really good piles. And then we are good to go. And we can build projects. So we finally collect enough resources for this scanner array, which is great because I want to explain that. So we'll spend 5, 3, and 1, and this will get us our scanner array. So as you can see, prepare the scanner array in your ship to begin locating parts. Give each player 1 scanner card. I won't do it now, but now we would read the next section of the scenario, and that would tell us that the next task is to find these rover parts and to complete these encounters. And then after that, we'd build the rover. And then as soon as this is complete, you can see it needs a lot of resources as well. We win the game. So as long as we finish that before it reaches our current player count, which is 2, so we're all the way over here, so we got a few rounds left, and as long as we don't run out of these green tokens, as long as the alien doesn't destroy our ship, we win. So a lot to keep track of, and I'm going to keep going for 1 more round. I'm not going to show the whole game so that you can still dive into it and enjoy it, but I'm going to do 1 more round so I can show the scanner card powers. That's actually a really good card. And then now I'll do the scanner. So we scan for parts, and it's a bit of a complicated instruction, so it says see instructions, and I'll just explain how to do it. So you take your dice and you roll it once. In this case it's 1. And you take the part and you place it in the furthest space in that direction from the middle. So in this case, right here. And then we roll the dice one more time. Let me see, it's a 5. And we'll move it, if possible, we'll move it one space in that direction. So in this case it is. So we'll put it there. If it had been like a 1 or a 2, it would just stay where it's at. And yeah, and that's it. So the part is there. We do not, when we draw the encounter card, and we can place it nearby. If you've got more table space, obviously off the board is ideal. Just to remember those are associated, and we won't look at it until a player has reached that space. I just want to show you what these encounters might look like. So in this case, the crashed part this one's called geological activity. The crashed part seems to have lodged itself among the pools of a toxic hot spring. So perform 2 harvest actions. That's from your action card, harvest cubes, with a tools card. So in this case you need a tools card, which I'll explain how you might be able to do that, and then take 1 damage for every turn on this space because of the toxic hot spring. So let me go back to the scanner card to explain how that goes. So, there's so many types of cards, tools can be hard to get, so the scanner has an additional benefit. Look at the top 5 cards of the deck and add 1 to the table for later purchase. And then also move 2, if there's cards you don't want or have enough of, to the bottom of the deck. So, in this case, we'll look at the top 5, and look, there's a tools. So, if I were to scan on my next turn, I might add, after I found out what this was, I might add the tools card to the top there. And let's say we already have these 2 out on the board. I'm going to put these underneath. And then this will be explained in the rules, but these, you don't have to do them on the same turn. So if I can perform 2 harvest actions, I can just track it with a cube. Whichever I have, whatever I have the most of. And, which is usually white. And then it's next turn, I can, if I do another one, then I can take it out. And then when this is completed, you just discard it over here. And then this part can be placed on the row over here. So, pretty simple. And that is the game. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates on Escape from Atalix. If you want to read the full rules and instructions, the entire text rulebook and the first scenario are on our website, on our blog, and as well as a bunch of other information about the game. And follow us on Instagram at Studio Ardia for updates. I try to post as often as I can, post new stuff like this. And that's it. Thanks for watching.